Thank you for joining. Today we're going to talk about how to make a ton of money in real estate. Before we get started, I want to make sure I don't get fired by BiggerPockets, wink, wink. So if you can give me a thumbs up, a like, a share, a smiley face, that would be awesome. Got a ton of people on here today. And so here's how it's going to work. I'm going to talk about how to make money in real estate, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. Okay? So a lot of people have been frustrated. So save your questions for a little bit later, and then we're going to open it up. We can talk about anything you want, real estate related or otherwise, but we're going to start by talking about a couple ways to make a lot of money in real estate. Now, I've been flipping houses. I've written 2 real estate books. I've got a third one on the way. I've been flipping houses. I did about 60 or 80 houses, about 20 or 30 high-end waterfront lots, a few condos, and built some ground up. Did a Hyatt hotel and another hotel in North Dakota. Had a lot of fun doing all that, but I've come up against a big wall in about the last several years. Even though I wrote a book on multifamily investing, I'm not investing in multifamily right now, at least not much. And the reason is we are having a hard time finding good deals. And it seems like everything's overpriced. I mean, there's international money, there's IRA money, 1031 exchange money. There is all kinds of money running at multifamily right now, and also at single family. And so about a year and a half ago, we got frustrated as a company. My company's Wellings Capital. And we decided to expand into self-storage and mobile home parks. I see somebody from Williston, North Dakota. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, I was working in Williston and Watford City, just about 30 miles south of you. So anyway, we expanded out to self-storage and mobile home parks. And what I learned from this is that the nature of the seller is really, really important. Okay, so 93% of multifamily owners and sellers are of 50 units and above have multiple assets. They have more than one apartment complex. So that makes them professional owners. But 66% of self-storage owners are mom and pops, one owner, one asset owners. And so they're typically mom and pop owners. They typically leave a ton of meat on the bone and a ton of money on the table that you can scoop up if you can find the right asset in the path of growth. And so we are looking for self-storage assets and mobile home parks that are in the path of growth. Now, it's likely that over 90% of mobile home parks are owned by mom and pop owners. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about why that's important and why it can make all of us a lot of money. So fragmented ownership, like I said, is the key to alternative asset success. So alternative assets could include buying land for like cell towers or land to subdivide. It's a little different. Buying timberland. Could include mobile home parks, could include self-storage. It could include parking garages or parking lots, RV and boat storage. I know people that do that. Now, there are almost 55,000 self-storage facilities in the U.S., and that's about the same as all the McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subways in the U.S. combined. But about 40,000 are run by independent operators, which means many have a lot of meat on the bone. And that's the key to success in many of the self-storage plays. I'm writing a book on self-storage right now, and there are several opportunities in self-storage. One is doing a steep value add. Another is repurposing warehouses and factories. And then another one is ground up construction. And ground up construction is always more risky, but it is a profitable opportunity in self-storage. In mobile home parks, there's no ground up construction. The power of mobile home parks is that it's the only asset class I'm aware of that has a shrinking supply and an increasing demand every single year. You guys have heard of the affordable housing crisis. Well, mobile home parks are the only asset class. They're the bottom asset class of the barrel. And if you go down from mobile home parks, typically people are moving back into their parents' basement or under a bridge. And so let's focus on self-storage, the self-storage asset classes today. Somebody asked me, what is a mom and pop self-storage operator? What does that mean? Well, typically a mom and pop has one or two self-storage assets. Often they built them themselves. Number one, they believe if you build it, they will come. You remember the old Kevin Costner movie, Field of Dreams? Give me a thumbs up if you remember that. If you build it, they will come. And that worked for many years, but it doesn't work anymore. You know, we need to be professional marketers. We need to go to the web to market, and a lot of these mom and pops don't do that. And that's number two, they don't have a website or a web presence, or a very, very poor one. Number three, they don't have a showroom. They don't sell locks, boxes, tape, and scissors. They rarely increase their prices. There are a lot of self-storage operators who say, whatever price you started at, that's your price forever. Well, that's not the best policy to make money. It may be a good way to make friends, but it's not the best way to have a profitable business. Another aspect of mom and pop self-storage is across-the-board pricing. Savvy operators can actually determine exactly what type of renter is in, what type of tenant is in a unit, and they price accordingly. For example, if it's somebody who is building a nice home, they just relocated to Kansas City from California, and they're building $1 million house, and they've got 13 months to build it. Well, if the owner of the self-storage facility, the manager, I should say, knows that, they may be able to increase the price a little more than somebody else who's price shopping. Another mom and pop characteristic is rent what we got. That means whatever they have in stock, whatever sizes they have is what they rent. But sheet metal and rivets can be easily moved to change the size of self-storage units. Most mom and pop owners don't bother to do that. Poor or deferred maintenance, poor security, no marketing budget, untapped land, poor pest control and water infiltration, and no rental truck income are other aspects of mom and pop ownership. So last summer, I told the example in the article I just posted at BiggerPockets last week. Last summer, we considered buying a self-storage facility outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. There was no website. All the units were one size. There was lots of deferred maintenance, and they only collected cash or checks. Now, if you're a self-storage manager, you want people to think about you all the time before they rent. But after they rent, you want them to forget about you and not think about you at all. Well, if they're paying a check or cash every month, they're going to be thinking about you every month. And it's going to be easier for them to think, oh, I need to clean that place out. But if it's automatically debiting their card or their bank account, they're going to forget about you. So this park was on a main road in a growing suburb of Raleigh. It had all kinds of meat on the bone. The best meat on that bone was that they were only using 1.5 acres out of 3 acres, and all the land by this busy road was just vacant land. Pretty cool. So an opportunity to add another office, a showroom, and some climate-controlled self-storage near the road. Now, these are some of the reasons we want to, again, buy from a mom and pop operator. There's one of the things I love about commercial self-storage and mobile home parks and apartments is that in the residential real estate world, the value is determined by comparable homes or comps. So if you have a $300,000 house and you add $500,000 to it, building it out, adding a story, building out the basement, you've got $800,000 in it now, and you go to sell it. If the neighborhood's all $300,000 homes, you're probably not going to get your $800,000 out of it. But that's not true in commercial real estate. In commercial real estate, the buyers are buying an income stream. So the value is the net operating income divided by the rate of return, or the NOI divided by the cap rate. So if you can increase the numerator, that's the income, or compress, decrease the cap rate, that's the denominator. If you can do both, you can dramatically increase the value of the asset, but then you can increase the value of the equity, multiples of that. So an example is if you can increase your income by 40%, which is pretty doable for most mom and pops, and if you can decrease the cap rate from say 7% to say 5.5%, that's another 25% increase in the value. Now you've got an increased value. I'm just going to round this off to about 70%. Okay, 70% increase asset value. That means you've taken a $2 million facility, and I shouldn't have done the math in my head, up to $3.4 million in value. Okay, I know somebody actually did those exact numbers outside of Chicago. Fernando, if you're listening, you know who you are. Anyway, but so that $1.4 million in increased value, that sounds like a 70% increase in appreciation, but it's not true. At the equity level, it's 2 or 3 or even 4 times that, depending on how much debt you got. So if you got 66% debt and you got a 70% increase in value, 60% debt means you multiply that increased value by, you divide it by 1 minus 0.66. So you divide it by 34%, 0.34. So 70% divided by 0.34 is 140, 100, 175% increase in equity. So 175% increase in the dollars you invested. Now, if it takes 3 years to do that, that's about a 58% a year increase. 58% a year appreciation. On top of that, you get the income that's thrown off along the way. Now, what I just said might sound like a fairy tale, but that's exactly the numbers a lot of the self-storage operators that we invest with, my company invests with, that's almost the exact numbers they're getting deal after deal after deal. In fact, one of the operators we invest with has a 70% return annually at the asset level, and their investors get about a 40-45% return on their equity. Pretty powerful growth. And they've done that across 21 deals in a row. That's a great company that Wellings Capital invests with. Another operator actually is giving their investors a 64.5% annual return in the form of IRR. And so internal rate of return. Okay? So how do you increase value at a self-storage unit? Let me count the ways. There's tons. But one way would be to utilize road frontage by getting better signage, clean up and refurbishing, adding corner guards, fences, locks, gates, adding security, lighting, adding truck rental. One of the operators we work with just added truck rental, and they're adding $3,900 a month to their bottom line. That's about $45,000 a year. Divide 45,000 by the cap rate of 6% or 0.06, and you're talking about what, a $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 increased value depending on the cap rate. Free shelving, free moving trucks. You can also provide a free moving truck for anybody who's moving into your facility, not out. Tenant insurance, admin and late fees, boat and RV storage, expanding the facilities, adding a billboard or cell tower or ATM lease. Timely evictions, pricing by size, pricing by demand, pricing by motivation. So there's lots of ways to increase the value of a self-storage facility. And so if you want to learn more, go to BiggerPockets.com and look for my article. It's called Where to Make a Ton of Money in Real Estate Right Now. My name's Paul Moore. I'm with Wellings Capital and BiggerPockets. And that's the end of my presentation. And so now it's 17 minutes after the hour, and I am going to go to Q&A. So how this works, folks, is Facebook. You can call me a non-millennial, and you would be right. And I know I only look 30, but seriously, Facebook, for some reason, I can't get Facebook to pull up the questions past my current screen. So I can see 4 questions on there right now. So on Facebook, I'm going to try to hit your questions first, and then I'll head over to YouTube. So, hey, Scott from Delaware County. I work in construction safety. One of my clients built 5 to 8 storage facilities per year, either ground up or repurpose. Awesome. Are you tapping in on that, Scott? I hope you are. Hey, Enrique from Riverside. Hey, Bobby from Central New Jersey. Okay. Yes, thanks, SB. 30 plus joke. Okay, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Happy Father's Day to you. What did I do for Father's Day? I actually wanted to act like a good father, and I felt bad because I hadn't done any housework for like the last 16 years. And so I actually got my kids motivated, and we all cleaned all the windows on the main floor of the house for Mom. That's what I did for Father's Day. That's why I'm a little sweaty here. So, hey, from Houston, Texas, T. Hey, Jack from Atlanta. Hey, Andrew from Denver, North Carolina. I know where you are. Hey, Kevin. All right. So, New York City, Nicole. Man, there's a lot of people on here today. Marilee says, where can you find mom and pop places listed for sale? You can try loopnet.com, which is the MLS for commercial real estate, but it's really hard. The best way to do it is just map them out and walk in and try to talk to the owners and see if they want to sell. That's my top advice. One of the companies we invest with has a team of 4 people on the phones all day calling mom and pop owners, and you can do that too. They don't mind me sharing that. I was in their office the other day in Nevada, and they said, we don't mind you sharing that because nobody else is going to do it. I mean, it's just so much work. Yeah, Mike, I cleaned for Father's Day. Hey, Shannon, how do you recommend a newbie to get started in storage or mobile? So, Shannon, one way is to invest passively. Find a great operator and invest with them. Another way is to find a mentor, somebody who's already doing self-storage or mobile home parks, and just like apprentice yourself under them. They don't have to even be local. Find somebody who would be willing to take you on. You do projects for them, get involved. There are 7 paths to getting involved in self-storage, mobile home parks, and multifamily. The 7 paths, real quick, are number 1, become a deal finder. Number 2, start small and work your way up. Brandon Turner calls that stacking. Number 3, be a capital raiser. Be careful because there's some laws around that might mess you up with the SEC. Number 4, just go big. Like if you have a lot of money, you win the lottery, just go in yourself. Number 5, become a passive investor. Number 6, get a job. Go to work for a property manager, asset manager, commercial broker, or commercial lender. And number 7, find a paid mentor. Now, there's some great paid mentors in self-storage. And if anybody wants to reach out to me on BiggerPockets, private message me. I'll try to connect you with a good mentor in self-storage, multifamily, and I don't really know anybody in mobile home parks, but there are some out there. I could probably find one. Pratt says, we are looking for hard money lenders. Pratt, can you answer your question again about hard money lenders? I don't think I understood the exact question. I do know some people who are looking for cash to do deals in single family. If anybody has cash to loan, wow, thanks for all the thumbs up. Hey, Jeff from Columbus. I used to go to Ohio State and I lived in Columbus myself. Hello from South Bend, Indiana. I worked there too for Worldwide Financial back in 1993. Danny says, when's the book coming out? I don't know. I'm like 98% done with it, and I hope to have the draft done by June 30th. I'm hoping BiggerPockets is going to publish. If you think BiggerPockets should publish my book on self-storage, please let them know. No, you better not. I might get in trouble. Hey, you're welcome, Shannon. Gopher says, hey guys, it seems that all real estate investing books are about U.S. real estate. What about people who live in Germany or Spain? Okay, so Gopher, I'm going to throw that out to everybody else and ask, who has an answer for Gopher? Because I don't know the answer. I don't mean to be so narrow-minded as to think we're we have all the books here in the U.S., but I only know the U.S. Sorry. Pratt says, should I look for a hard money lender like in the residential sector? If you're doing self-storage, you can. I would look for other opportunities to finance it before I did a hard money lender. It might take longer than flipping a home. Marin says, can you turn residential acreage into a mobile home park zoned for residential currently? I'm sorry, AJ Morin. Sometimes it's just a long, hard road, and it's really hard to get zoning. Okay, so Eric says, can you turn the volume up a bit? Okay. See if that's better. I hope I'm not too loud, but I just turned the volume up a bit. I hope that's helpful. Habib says, every country's got its own laws when it comes to real estate. Eric, let me know if that helps. Kenny, thumbs up. Okay, I'm going to start off house hacking. Time to transition from multifamily to ballpark development. Okay, I want to know more about that. I'll sell ice cubes to Eskimos. Cool. Hassian says, what would you do with $45,000? Invest to a hard money lender? Hassian, that's exactly what I would do. I would lend to a hard money lender. My company's actually taking a few loans like that ourselves. We have some projects we're doing on the side. So if anybody has cash to loan, you can let me know. And I know a guy who is actually extremely trustworthy house flipper who you could loan to. But yes, that's exactly what I would do if I had $45,000. Intense Pepper says, what's deferred maintenance? It means that there's maintenance that should have been done, but it has not been done yet, and it's overdue. And so hope that helps. Hassian says, hey, Hassian, I don't know if I'll remember to message you. Would you message me? It's Paul Moore at Wellings Capital. And you can reach out to me there. And I can introduce you to a couple people who could use $45,000 and pay you a good interest rate. Saad Ahmed says, condo or single family house for investment. Yeah, by the way, I'm willing to take any questions. So if you want to talk about single family, multifamily, house flips, lease options, sandwiches, we're open today. So let's do it. I don't know the answer to that, Saad. I know it's really, really hard to find either. Wherever you can get the best deal. That's a cop-out answer. Hey, I did hear there are some houses for sale in places like Cleveland and Toledo and Dayton that are probably a little underpriced. They haven't completely recovered from the recession. So, okay. So, okay, Kiefer, you missed everything. Check out my article, Where to Make a Ton of Money in Real Estate right now, Kiefer. Any advice for investors based in London or UK? Briandra, I would say invest passively in U.S. investments. You've got some advantages. You don't have to be an accredited investor if you're in another country. You can invest in the U.S. In the U.S., if you live here or if you are a resident here, you have to be accredited, which means you basically have to make a lot of money or be a millionaire. And there's some advantages to being an international investing in the U.S. Pratt says, how do you feel about attaining your real estate license? It can be really helpful. There's sometimes it can hurt you because you have to disclose to everybody if you're buying off market that you're a real estate investor and a real estate agent, but I don't see a huge problem with it. Dan Jenkins says, James says I'm too loud now. I hope you guys can turn it down. Okay, I'll go a little quieter. Somebody asked, are there tax advantages to mobile homes? There's huge tax advantages. And let me try to answer that. Haseen, I might have to get back to you. You might have to ask your question again because this is going to take a minute. So if you guys know about depreciation schedules, there are residential properties typically on a 39-year commercial properties on a 39-year depreciation schedule. Residential property like homes or multifamily are 27.5-year straight line. Other properties, other stuff is a 15-year schedule, some 7, 5, 3, and then some 1. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to go look up depreciation schedules, but it's the time involved in writing off the cost of the real estate buildings or the real property that you are acquiring, not the land. Real estate, typically, like I said, the average is 27 and a half years, but you can do what's called a cost segregation study, and you can break down the components of your real estate into these shorter windows, which is a huge tax advantage. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. Go look up cost segregation studies and depreciation. Anyway, mobile home parks. A typical mobile home park might be 30% land, which can't be depreciated, 35% land improvements, which is like lighting, shrubbery, sidewalks, pavement, office, electrical components, and then 35% goodwill. Well, the 35% land improvements and the 35% goodwill can be all written off over 15-year straight line depreciation. Guess what? That's really good. That means you can write off 4.66% a year of the cost of the mobile home park, the whole cost. So if you buy a $1 million park, you can write off $46,600 a year. Am I right? Yeah, I think so. And so that's 4.66% a year. But if you use leverage, let's say 60% loan to value debt, now instead of 4.66%, that 60% loan you multiply by 2.5x, and you can now depreciate 11.6% a year. So you can make 11.6% a year, Dan, on a mobile home park in profit, and it would be a break even on your K1. If you make 10% a year, you're going to get a loss on your K1 every year, your tax return, but you're going to get money in your bank account all 15 years. Then you can roll it over at the end of that using a 721 or 1031 exchange. So I hope that helps. And I will try to answer some more questions now. So what is the average profit per storage unit you should look for? For example, $100 per door with multifamily. You're going to be looking for about $60, not including your debt service. So about $100, $110 for the self-storage unit itself. Costs of about $30 to $35 to no more than $40, leaving you $60 or $65 a unit in gross profit. Jessica, yes, this is recorded. I hope it's helpful. James says, what's the most efficient way to make money in mobile home parks without leaving my mother's basement? You can invest passively or you can own one. Ryan says, Detroit, why would they pay you rent when they could just squat in the house next door for free? LOL. I used to live in Detroit, and yeah, I know what you mean. It's getting better, though, isn't it, guys? Come on. Pratt Buys, thank you for these live events. Thank you. That's really nice of you to say that. If you can share it with a friend or give us a thumbs up or a like, that would be amazing. Lima says, can you briefly go over a subject to then owner financing to your end buyer? Yeah, I would love to go over that. Let me make sure I don't miss anything else. Hassian says, what's the best way to mitigate risk when investing out of town? It's usually preached to invest close to you. What's your thought on that? Hassian, I'd highly recommend, if you're investing any significant amount of money at all, you go see it. Go see it in person. Use Google Maps, use Google Earth, use Neighborhood Scout. And by the way, if you haven't got a BiggerPockets Pro membership, Neighborhood Scout is an incredible tool you get at a deep discount by being a BiggerPockets Pro membership. Being a BiggerPockets Pro member. But you've got to go in person. You've got to drive a 1, 2, 3, 4 mile radius, every major road and even some of the small roads around there. Take a day or two. That's the way to mitigate some of the risk when buying out of town. Do not do an investment without going yourself. That's my advice. Okay, so Lima, can you briefly go over a subject to then owner financing to your end buyer? Okay, Lima, I'm going to call this a rent to own or lease to own sandwich. Okay, so a rent to own sandwich means you take over somebody's mortgage, you put the land or the property, I should say, in a land trust, and then you get somebody to, you take the owner, the current previous owner, you send them packing, and then you clean it up a little bit, you paint it up a little bit, and you put a new rent to owner in. So you're renting to own from the actual owner. You're paying their mortgage, you're paying it, you're not paying them to pay it, right? You get it. And then you get a deposit from somebody else, and then they rent to own from you. So they're effectively paying you to pay the mortgage, and whatever difference there is, you put in your pocket. Now, there's a 75% chance they will fail to follow through. Then you'll clean it up, paint it up, mow the yard, and you'll start again in 2.5 years on average. Then you'll do it again, and you'll do it again, and you'll finally get somebody to close. But when you close, there'll be inflation involved. You might have got it under contract for the mortgage balance, which is, let's say, I'm making up a number. This is actually a real example for me, $140,000. And then by the time it's sold, it sells for, let's say, $200,000, and you put the $60,000 profit in your pocket, plus all the monthly payments along the way. Really, really good way to get started in real estate. Highly recommend it. It's called a rent-to-own sandwich or a lease option sandwich. Okay, Sean, Saginaw, Michigan. I took a vacation once in Saginaw. Can you believe that? Okay, don't ask me where I stayed unless you want to. Then I'll tell you. Katie says, in terms of real estate investment, what are some things to look at during the recession? Oh, Katie, self-storage and mobile home parks are killing it during a recession. Self-storage, well, let me tell you about mobile home parks. It costs about $5,000 to move. Okay, Jay, I'm turning it up. It costs about $5,000 to move a mobile home. And so if the mobile home park resident gets mad at you, they're going to have to spend $5,000 to move their mobile home out. They're not going to do it. So they're going to stay. Self-storage, think about this. In good times, people are filling up their Walmart cart, their Amazon cart, and they need a place to store their stuff. If it's a bad time and they're downsizing from their 4,000 square foot home to a 2,000 or a 2,000 square foot home to an apartment, they need a place to store their stuff. So I love self-storage for that reason. And I can tell you that both of these are amazing recession-resistant asset classes. Check out some of the graphs and charts I have on this topic in my article. It's called Where to Make a Ton of Money in Real Estate Right Now. It was published by BiggerPockets last week. And a lot of you are saying, I missed part of this. What are you talking about? Go check out that article. That's what I was talking about. Jay Roller, can you tell me if you can hear me okay now? Sudar says estimate's $400,000. They're asking $500,000. 7-bedroom, 4-bath, 4-unit apartment in major university. Guessing $3,500 a month in rent, student rental. So I would kind of ignore the Zestimate. If you can get it for $500,000 and you can rent it out for $3,500 a month, it seems like a pretty good deal. Sudakar. I'd want to check with a realtor or a property rental agent or both in your area. Make sure that they both agree that it's a good deal. You're welcome, Jay. Danny Ramos, I posted Paul's website link above. Oh, where's my website link? Okay, so my website is wellingscapital.com. That's WELLINGS, capital CAPITAL.com. Don't buy in California. Some people are ruining the state. Okay. So some people think that that's true. A lot of people are leaving California, New Jersey, Illinois, and moving to other states. So consider that as you buy, but also consider other factors as well. So Hassan says, thank you. Thanks, Hassan. I appreciate it. Kasif says, what would be your advice for a first-time commercial real estate investor on doing improvement projects with no experience? I don't know. Kashif, if you can just can you give me an example? I'll try to do a better job with an answer than, I don't know. Arturo says, do any investing, and does anybody invest in the Detroit area? Okay, so if somebody has an answer on that. Per Ascadella, Askel, Adden, 150,000 and rent around 9,000 a month. You think it's good? Can you ask that question again? Detail that out. I would love to answer you. Hi, Jim Marco. How are you? Mohammed says, hi, I'm a sheikh from India. I have, tell me more about what you're asking. I'm sorry, I'm missing the question. Love to answer it if I could. Crazy Nation, do you have any experience with delayed financing? Yeah. So if you don't want to do a 1031 exchange and you want to sell your property on an installment sale, you can delay the capital gains for 30 years. So pretty cool. What do I think about East Point, Michigan? I think it's, that whole area, what is that? Not Oakland County, but the county to the east of Oakland County. I think it's really growing fast from what I've heard. But I don't know currently. But Oakland County seems to be a great county to invest in, which is north of Wayne County in Detroit. Kashif says, let's say upgrading a storage park or increasing the square footage. Would you recommend partnering with someone who has experience or doing it yourself? And absolutely, Kashif, recommend that you partner with somebody who has experience first. You might not make any money or very much, but you'll gain knowledge. And if you're in it for the long haul, you'll be so happy that you did. Alexandra says, duplex for $85,000, renting for $1,450 right now. What? Property is 80 years old. Should this be a big deterrent for the first income property? Alexandra, it depends how much deferred maintenance there is. I mean, it sounds like an incredible deal. Wow. Mason says, REITs, why most take the easy road can you clarify, Mason? If there's a poor part of town, homes are going for $20,000 to $30,000. Is it worth investing or for cheap buys or stay out? C-class neighborhoods are usually an incredible amount of agony and pain with tenants. So I'll just give you that warning. I'm Terrell, active duty military. Thank you for serving our country and looking to start investing in my next duty station in Fayetteville. Any initial advice? Is anyone investing in that area? I would love a mentor. I've heard that Fayetteville's not a great place to do multifamily, and I've heard it's actually one of the lower markets in the country. That said, guys, look up. Let me think about who to give you as a potential mentor. I think that I can come up with somebody. Look for Matt. Okay, he wrote a book called Matt Faircloth wrote a book. It doesn't matter. Just go find Matt Faircloth on BiggerPockets. Reach out to him. Tell him Paul Moore sent you. And you can talk to him about being a mentor for Fayetteville, North Carolina. He invests there, and he's a great, great guy. Pratt buys homes. For self-storage, what was your comment about working for a property manager? Are there specific markets that are most profitable? Yeah, so you're going to want to use a tool called Radius Plus. And you can find holes in any given market. That's locations where there's an undersupply of self-storage. You're going to want to look for a place in about a 3 to 4 mile radius where there's less than 7 square feet of self-storage per person. I'll just leave it at that for now. I don't think I have time to get into it anymore. But you could, when I said you could go to work for somebody, there's lots of property managers. I know a guy who took he went from $120,000 a year down to $50,000 a year just to get a job as a property manager to learn the self-storage business so he could start buying himself. He's doing that in Dallas. If you guys want a self-storage mentor, you can go to Scott Myers. That's Meyers. You can just Google Self-Storage Academy. Scott Myers, please tell him Paul Moore sent you. Not that it matters, but I did invest with him last year, and I really like him. Archine 13, I think it would depend on the condition of the property. I have a 1950 church we're renovating into a fourplex. The ROI should be around 16%. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it depends on the condition in the property. I mean, you can get a 100-year-old property that's in great shape or a 25-year-old property that's terrible. Kevin says you recommend a suburban or urban. Amazon's coming to my city. Yeah, only buy with a deep discount. I agree. Right now, things are pretty high priced. Just look for a deep discount. Simsori says, do you recommend buying commercial real estate in a very small town? Or are you gambling? I think it's gambling to buy in a really small town. I'm just being honest, folks. Timur says, please recommend how to locate a reliable real estate attorney or reliable accountant to ensure depreciation and 1031 exchange is done right. Yeah, you can go to BiggerPockets forums. There are some great real estate attorneys and accountants on BiggerPockets, or you can reach out to me and I can recommend 1, 2, or 3 that I like. Dylan says, I'm thinking of investing in real estate in the suburbs of Philly, looking for a mentor. Let's see, mentor in Philly. I would also go with Matt Faircloth. He lives close to there, and I think he would be a great person to reach out to. And he wrote a book on BiggerPockets about raising private money. That's what I was trying to think of early. Simsori says, I guess the better question is how to weigh and manage risk in commercial real estate. That's a long conversation we'd probably have to have offline. Muhammad Ashik says, hi, sir. I'm Ashik from India. I'm planning to start a real estate rental income from my land. You have 1,000 square meters, planning to build a house. Can you give some advice on how to generate cash flow? Yeah, Ashik, I would just recommend that you try to find, count your costs, count your resources, see if it makes sense, see what rentals are going for in that area, and try to build a duplex or even a fourplex. Try to go vertical if you can. I'm sorry, that's not super helpful. Fatima says, hello, Paul. Fourplex rental, $700,000, 4.2% loan rate versus Los Angeles, 0%, and $90,000 down payment, assistant, single family. What are your thoughts? Fatima, I will do my best to answer that. Would you just detail that out again? I'm not totally clear what you're saying. Kevin says, how do you feel about buying multifamily as your first home? Probably a duplex. Rent one side and live in the other. Kevin, house hacking, it's awesome. I absolutely think it's a great idea. Someone says Fayetteville's a big flood zone. Be careful. I don't mean to scare you, but that's somebody else I'm quoting. Do I think South Florida is a great market? South Florida is one of the best markets to invest in when you can catch a falling knife, when the market's dropping like a rock. And if the market drops here, it's a great place to invest. Right now, it's zooming high. It's a terrible place to invest, in my opinion. I wouldn't touch it. The variance between the top and the bottom of the market in South Florida, and mostly all of Florida, is enormous. It's the greatest place to make or lose a lot of money. And I think the same about California and Las Vegas, by the way. Josh says, I owe my mother-in-law $80,000 on primary. House is worth $175,000, but no mortgage. Then I have a rental that I owe the bank $100,000. It's worth about $135,000. I want to refi and pay mother-in-law off or down. Well, I mean, if your mother-in-law needs to be paid off, sure, you can do it. But if she doesn't, maybe that's a pretty good deal to keep it going like that. Any mentors in South Carolina? I don't know. If you're looking for a mentor, there's some great mentors out there in multifamily, but they're usually pretty costly, $20,000, $30,000, sometimes even more to get started now. Joe Fairless is a mentor who's been on BiggerPockets, and he's charging $45,000 to get started now, and people are paying it, and from what I've heard, he's worth it. So that's not a plug for Joe. I've been on his podcast a couple times, but I think he really is a sharp guy for sure, and he's a great mentor. Larry says, I have $200,000 cash, fastest way to scale in multifamily. Larry, I would ask you the same question I ask a lot of people, and that is, why work harder than you need to make less than you could? Do your due diligence. Check out an article I wrote recently about being a passive investor. Find a great operator. Find a great fund. If you can, invest passively. You can turn that $200,000. Okay, you guys, don't hang up on me here. Don't cancel me or give me a thumbs down. But You can turn 200,000 into 5 or 10 million over 30 years if you invest it right with sponsors that are really know what they're doing in multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks. I've done this math with many, many people, and they all agree that it's just math and it is doable. How do I feel about Tucson? I'm sorry, I don't know. What do you consider in a small town? Small towns are just really dangerous. If you're going to go in a small town, I would just really invest really, really small, like really low risk, small deals. Lisa says, I have 40,000 to invest, need turnkey tenant occupied with cash flow after expenses of 1,500 a month. I don't know what to say about that. Do I have a real Lisa, maybe you can ask me a little, like clarify that a little. Patrick, do you have a real estate license? Yes, I do. Umar says, is it worth it? Yeah, I've made a lot of money from having a real estate license. I've made a lot more money than I've lost from having the stigma of having it. Far, far, far more. What are the best ways to research how specific markets are performing? Katie, there's so many ways. One of the best ways is check the net population migration and check the unemployment rate, check the diversity of the employers in the area. Those are some of the best ways to get started. There's other things you can do. Any mentor in California, someone else asked about Kansas City, someone else asked for a mentor in Arizona, someone else asked for a mentor in Nashville. I do mentoring weekend retreats with people, like where we spend like basically we just spend 2 intense days, and a lot of people walk out of that with a plan. And you can reach out to me if you'd be interested in that. I'm not here to promote that, but like I said, there are lots of multifamily self-storage mentors. There's also mobile home park training. I don't know if there's mentors in mobile home parks. Hey, I'm from Abingdon, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. Joseph said, can you name that real estate mentor again? Matt Faircloth, check in with him. Deshaun Shepard, our leasehold's a good idea. I don't know. I don't honestly know much about. I know what you mean. If you can get one at a good price, above like a 4 or 5% cap rate, in other words, 6 or 7% cap rate, they can be really good, especially if you got a tenant. Danny says, okay, so Danny's answering Joe Pratt. Joseph, by the way, you guys can answer each other because I haven't got all the answers. Theodore says, I'm a community college student. I live 45 minutes north of Ann Arbor. Hey, I used to live in Howell, Michigan, Brighton and Howell. I'm off this summer and I would like to use this time to start real estate investing and pay for my education. Where do I begin? Try to find a lease option sandwich. I hope that helps, Theodore. Fatima says City of Los Angeles first-time buyer program with 0% interest. Okay. With $90,000 down payment assistance. I'm looking into owner $700,000 fourplex with 4.2%, 20% down payment with Bank of America. Fatima, I don't really know. I just know California is really expensive. And I think you might be better off trying to go to a different location. I don't mean to be so opinionated. That's just what I think. What's a good call dialer system for beginners besides Mojo? Oh, man, I have this written down. Where is it? What is it called? I don't remember. I'm sorry. You can reach out to me and I'll try to give you an answer. I don't have it handy. If somebody else has an answer, please answer because I don't know. Chris Brown asked me a question. I don't know. Lieber says, if I rent my home on Airbnb, this is similar to house hacking, what are the tax advantages? I don't think there's very many. Does it matter how many months I live in the home? You stumped me. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's a great question. That'd be a good question for an accountant. Josh says, thoughts on St. George, Utah for buy and hold. I've heard great things about it. I've heard it's going up like all of Utah is just exploding. Should I get my real estate license or CPA license or both? Best way to market as a real estate agent. Well, I mean, getting your real estate license is way, way faster than getting a CPA license, and it's going to give you a lot more open doors. Of course, I'm biased as a real estate investor myself. Hey, Jacek, investor from Lublin, Poland. Thank you for coming. Hey, Starfire from Cleveland. Dylan says, I'm in college right now and was considering getting my real estate license while taking classes. I think I could handle it, but it would be to work part-time while still in school. It's really hard to make it as a real estate agent part-time, but if you can develop a specific niche, like a really cool neighborhood, and you can just dominate that little neighborhood, you can actually do that better. Larry says, I want to invest $200,000. Would you break up the $200,000 to 20% down payments on several properties, or buy a fixer upper and pull equity to buy more? Yeah, Larry, it just depends on your style. There's just not one answer to that. I would break it up into four $50,000 passive investments. Invest with maybe 2 different operators in 4 deals. But if you want to invest actively with that, that's a different thing. And you can do that too. You for sure can do that and make a ton of money. Ali says, where does one research population migration data? You can go to the U.S. Census. You can go to the U.S. Jobs data. That's not very helpful, is it? The Reese Reports, that's REIS, reesereports.com, I think. You can look, Texas A&M Real Estate Center. They have tons of data on all kinds of different markets. That's something you guys didn't expect me to say today. Texas A&M Real Estate Center. I think it's TAMURE center.com. Don't type that in. Just Google that. Any mentors in Maine? I don't know of any. How do you feel about investing in Flint, Michigan? It seems risky to me based on what's happened there. What's the website for mobile home training? I have 10 acres in Central Florida and want to start a mobile home park. Yeah, there's guys like named Frank and Dave, and they have mobile home investing. Frank and Dave Mobile Home Investing. There's also other mobile home investing websites. Let me see if I can find one right here. Is it? No. LearnSelfStorage.com. What's that? Okay, so I have another real estate education. Here it is. EducateMHC.com. EducateMHC.com. There you go. Linda Gregory says, what about Syracuse, New York, buy and hold? I don't know. Can anybody else help? If people are moving into the area, you can consider it. If they're moving out, no matter how good of a deal it is, over time, it's going to be a bad buy and hold. Someone says purchase price $30,000, repair $15,000, ARV $91,000, C-class neighborhood. Would have to take a hard loan and personal loan due to all the cash. Auction foreclosure, first deal, worth it? You're nervous. I'm nervous about any C-class neighborhood, Marks, but it could work. You might want to find a mentor or a partner on that and just take a lower profit just to learn it well. So someone talked about Mojo, which, Danny, I don't know anything about it. I'd like to know. Marco says, where's a good site to research property nationwide? I live in Guam, but my market is high now. I own a home currently in an Airbnb one side. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Maybe somebody else can help. Okay, it's 3 minutes till 5 o'clock Eastern, and I've got to get upstairs for my Father's Day dinner. So I'm going to wrap this up in 3 minutes. So I'm going to do rapid fire answers. So if you have any more questions, please ask away. I did not get to the questions on BiggerPockets. So let me try. Tyler, have I ever purchased commercial property with active code violations? I would say, duh. Man, what would no, I've never done that. And I don't know how. I would not buy it until you were sure that you got that resolved. Put it under a letter of intent or contract before. Tyler says, recommended active duty passive income for the military gentleman. Great group on BP for military members. Okay, active duty passive income. I'm going to write that down. That sounds really good. This may not be as applicable to self-storage, though, because no one is living there, and I would assume less of a chance of code violations. Tyler, I totally agree. Starfire, what's your advice for beginners wanting to get started? Do a lease option sandwich. 19-year-old interested. How do I get started? Rent to own sandwich. Best new market to invest in? Tough question. Greenville, South Carolina just came to mind. Patrick, okay. Marilyn, thank you. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. It's easier to get qualified for commercial lending when multiple partners in an LLC. Yeah, it can be, Adam, especially if somebody has a lot of money and income. Thank you. Do you know anyone I can learn from in the Howell, Michigan area? That's where you live. Keller Williams, Theodore, try them out. Tommy Morgan says many are saying a shift is coming soon. Yeah, we're only 2 weeks away from the longest economic expansion in U.S. history. There's probably going to be a contraction in the next couple of years. It's inevitable. I just don't know when and how big. Pratt Holmes says, no, don't go, LOL. I don't know what that means. Tim A says, I have money, poor credit. What's the best way to get in either pack? Oh, yeah, definitely go in passive if you can, Tim, and you can improve your credit score. Okay, last couple questions. Illinois buy and hold, don't know. Stay away from Chicago. Hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. Yes, I agree, Danny. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Thanks, Timmer. Best of nice advice for new real estate agents. Just pick a neighborhood and just become the king of that neighborhood. How do you feel about Chicago? Any mentors in Chicagoland? Yes. Look for Fernando Angelucci. You can find him in like the Elgin area. I think he'd be a great mentor potentially. Louis Bryan says, what's thoughts on the Dubai market? I don't know, but if you have money and you're in Dubai and you want to invest in the U.S., there's many passive opportunities for you. Matthew says, where do I find a real estate mentor? There's so many mentors. And like I said, I do a little bit of mentoring, but there's so many other ones that have really expensive, really well thought out programs. Which state do you house flip or city? I do Roanoke and Lynchburg, Virginia. Okay, so we're wrapping up right now. Could you repeat your email for those who want to provide cash to hard money lender? Okay, I've got 2 or 3 opportunities for hard money cash. If anybody's interested, you can email us at info@wellingscapital.com. That's info@wellingscapital, wellingscapital.com. I can't promise I can help you. Shipping container advice, yes. I know a guy who did that and did not do well with it, but that doesn't mean you can't. Kimball says, I need a mentor. I'm in New York City. There's so many mentors. Just, again, reach out to me and I'll try to find one. Okay, folks, that is almost the end. Thank you so much. It's been great spending Father. Thanks, Danny. You got it right. Danny Ramos just posted my email address. So, guys, gals, thank you for spending Father's Day with me. I'm truly honored. It's been a privilege. Thank you, BiggerPockets. If you haven't joined BiggerPockets Pro yet, check it out. Lots of reasons. It's one of the very, very best investment moves I've ever made in my 19 years as a real estate investor. BiggerPockets Pro. Check it out today. Have a great Father's Day. Have a great week. And we'll see you next Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Please give us a like, a share, a thumbs up, a smiley face. And we'll see you here next week at BiggerPockets live stream. Thank you.